stories is a great way for us to impart and to connect with people. We've communicated by PowerPoint for probably about 20 years. So which one's going to be more powerful? An awesome story or a PowerPoint presentation? So don't be afraid of telling stories. Now, there's some good guidelines around stories. First one is your story needs to have a purpose. It needs to be relevant. It needs to actually relate to the point that you're trying to make. I think that's a really important part. The second thing is that stories about people we tend to relate to them better. Okay, so even if it's not a story about yourself, a story about a person is going to be a lot easier to relate to. And the third thing is test your stories out. Sometimes a story in your head might sound really cool, and then you go and tell it. Has anyone done that at the dinner table before, where you've got a joke or you're something like that, you think it's real funny, and you tell the joke and it falls flat because it's not the right audience. So it's a good idea to test out your audience, test your stories, practice telling them, share your stories. Carl, do you want to tell us the story about how you learned about stories?
Yeah, well, I guess the easiest way to tell the story, because it is about me first getting taught how to use stories, by telling you guys a story, if that makes sense. So one of my mentors when I first became a trainer, Owen, I just finished delivering a session. I thought I was pumped, and I thought everyone loved it. And then he kind of sat by me, and as everyone was walking past, he kind of put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, have a look at them, Callum. Having a look at these people. And then I noticed that they're kind of like withered and worn. And he goes, was that a good session? I went, oh yeah, it felt great. And then he goes, but why do they look like you've drained their life out of them? Mm-hmm. And I thought about it, go, oh, I don't know. And he goes, Carl, you've been there basically enthusiasm and energetic for an hour and a half, and you've beaten them with your energy, but you've shown no levels. So he said, next session that you run, when you go and do that example, and as a customer story, bring them into your whānau and sit them down like they're your family. And then they'll engage, and then you won't suck the life out of them, but you'll change the tone and bring it down. So I walked into the next day, started off enthusiastically, and then I brought everyone and kind of sat them at the kitchen table, basically. And then I sat down like my dad used to and kind of bring them all in. And then every single person, you can see their eyes twist and look and look and look and look. And then they all engaged, and then I started speaking. I spoke a little quieter, and everyone joined in. So I always kind of remember that example of bringing everyone around the kitchen table when I want to bring an audience in and kind of mix it up. If I've already kind of hyped it as much as you can, maybe you need to bring it down a little. So don't forget the kitchen table.
Nice, thanks. So tell a story or two. There's heaps of really cool literature out about using stories. There's some awesome storytellers. Steve Jobs, one of my favorite presentations or speeches of all time was, and you can YouTube this, actually it's in our learning app as well. He's talking at Stanford University, and his point that he's trying to make is about being true to yourself and chasing your dream and not sort of living someone else's life. His entire speech is made up of 3 stories. That's all it is. 3 stories about his life, and it's a great example of that. So if you have time, have a look at that. It's a great illustration.